There are a lot of things percolating with the MCU and Kevin Feige. We're getting new news every day. The Marvels bombed, Captain America, Brave New World, whatever that damn thing is with Falcon Cap. Tons of reshoots. It sounds like Tom Hiddleston is out as Loki, and there are plenty of rumors out there. It sounds like Steven Yeun is going to be Sentry. Is that supposed to be a big deal? I'm not really sure. It doesn't feel like Sentry's a big deal, but I like Steven Yeun. He was pretty good in The Walking Dead up until the point where he fell in love, and then his character just died on that show. And basically my interest in the show also died with it. He was the one thing that was great, besides Daryl, really. And then once he wasn't cool, I didn't really think the show was cool anymore. Although I did stick around for 2 or 3 more years. I regretted it. And now we have all these Fantastic Four rumors. We know there have been massive changes when it comes to the writing staff. I think the original director's out. They've got somebody else in. And they're trying to cast the Fantastic Four. And that's mostly what these rumors are about. Although at the very end of this video, I will show you that perhaps, potentially, there is some hope on the horizon. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, maybe, as we get through phases 4 and 5 of the MCU, which is not going very well. Obviously, the Fantastic Four are the first family of Marvel Comics, and they are important to the future of the MCU, and they need to get this right. It sounds like Pedro Pascal is likely to be the next Reed Richards. This is all kind of coming from Jeff Snyder and John Roca's Hot Mic podcast, whatever it's called. This is from different articles talking about different parts of the podcast. I think 3 of them might be from Cosmic Book News, and maybe one of them is from Giant Freaking Robot. But it's talking about all the rumors that they were talking about on their podcast. Let's get to it. The rumor comes from Jeff Snyder, who has some info on the Fantastic Four casting process. According to Snyder, he already knew about Pedro Pascal being cast, but he couldn't release the info. He says it wasn't clear if Pascal would be able to do Fantastic Four due to a busy schedule. But now that the strikes are over, Pascal apparently freed up time for Marvel. It's also said Vanessa Kirby is playing Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Human Torch, and Ebon Moss-Baccarat as the Thing. And that's when Kevin Feige learned the cast was way too white, according to Snyder's insider, and they decided to use Reed Richards as a way to diversify the cast. Oh my goodness, why are all these white characters white? That's too much white. We gotta get another character in there. I can see Kevin Feige having that epiphany. Like, what are all these white characters doing in here? We need to spice things up and get something else in there. So apparently they've been looking for a new direction. There were rumors that they were courting like Jake Gyllenhaal and Adam Driver to play Reed Richards, but they were too expensive, so they were going an alternate route. And apparently that has led them to Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. I don't know if Pedro Pascal is a big deal. I mean, he's a big TV actor. Certainly, I loved him as the Red Viper in Game of Thrones. I really liked him on Narcos. He's got The Last of Us, which I haven't seen, but it seemed like everyone really liked. So he's got a lot of good TV credits where he's been a big star. Obviously, The Mandalorian, although you don't really see his face in that one. Or maybe he did in season 3. I didn't really see it when I watched the show. I haven't been watching it lately. But, in movies, I can remember him being in the Kingsman sequel, where he was one of the American guys, like he was a cowboy. I didn't think he was very good in that. Do you need a big star of Fantastic Four to be Reed Richards? Apparently not, because I don't know that Pedro Pascal is a big movie star, but I like him. I think he's a really good actor. I could see it working. You throw the little salt and pepper look on the sides and everything. I think he could probably get that. It feels like he probably has the gravitas for Reed Richards to play that role. And it also sounds like a lot of actors, big name actors, were turned off to the role just by the way that Reed Richards is supposedly being portrayed in the Fantastic Four movie. So is this a good choice? Is it a bad choice? I think it's a bad choice if the only reason you decided to think about Pedro Pascal is because you're like, wait, these Fantastic Four characters are too white. I need to do something different. If that was your reasoning, you're probably making a mistake and not going out of your way to hire the best actor for the job. But I think you could find worse people to play the Reed Richards and Pedro Pascal. Maybe it'll work. I don't really know a whole lot about the other actors in there. I will say I saw some pictures. Vanessa Kirby looks quite striking, probably out of Pedro Pascal's league. If they weren't actors or whatever, he wasn't famous. I don't think he's pulling Vanessa Kirby from the bar or whatever. She seems to be a lot younger than he is. But we shall see. But that is where they're going. The Fantastic Four are officially too white, according to Kevin Feige. Rumors from Jeff Snyder. And they're going the Pedro Pascal route. Also, according to his sources, Snyder revealed the role of the Silver Surfer would most certainly be given to a woman, though he didn't reveal who was auditioning or who had been cast in the part. Regarding Galactus, Snyder claims Javier Bardem is being eyed to play the role in a part comparable to Josh Brolin's Thanos. However, Snyder isn't sure if Bardem is getting the part or if Antonio Banderas will still get the role. So yeah, we've heard that Antonio Banderas Galactus rumor out there for a while. Are they getting this wrong? When I think about Fantastic Four, first movie, Thanos level villain there that you really want to stand out, I'm thinking Doctor Doom. Like, you better get Doctor Doom right. Like, I don't think Galactus is probably going to be the main event. Now, Galactus is certainly an Avengers level threat. He's certainly a threat that any hero better not take lightly, especially the Fantastic Four. And then, Galactus is really cool, but I think they should be worried about Doctor Doom. And if you want to go out there and get a really big name, villain type actor to play this, and I think Javier Bardem is a great choice, to be completely honest. He's got some killer vibes to him, you know what I mean? He feels like he can get creepy real fast. I think he would be good for Doom, but it sounds like he's going to be Galactus. I don't know. It feels like Galactus should be the second or third movie, and Doctor Doom should be the big villain coming out of Fantastic Four, at least in the first film. Of course, that's what they've done in the other Fantastic Four movies so far that were at Fox, not at Disney, and not part of the MCU. But that's really the place that you got to go, because Doctor Doom is such a badass character, and he is absolutely synonymous with the Fantastic Four themselves. As far as the Herald of Galactus, the Silver Surfer, being a woman, why? Hey, I'm excited if you get a really smoking hot actress like they did for Mystique in the original X-Men movies, and then they just make her silver, but you can see everything, but it's silver and shiny. That'll look pretty cool. I'm not going to be upset about it, but Silver Surfer is one of the really tragic characters out there. He's not so much a villain, or he's certainly not a hero. He's somewhere in between. He's somebody that wanted to do good things, who got trapped in this role as the Herald of Galactus, and his story is very, very tragic. Probably only trailing like the Hulk as far as Marvel Comics lore, just what the character is and what he represents. And certainly his lost love plays an enormous role in this, and why Silver Surfer is Silver Surfer. But apparently that's not going to be the case, and it's not that important to Kevin Feige and whoever's writing this Fantastic Four movie. I hope she's really hot. And I hope it looks cool on screen. I don't think they should do that, but I don't think that would ruin a movie. Just like I don't think going out there and finding a cool actor like Pedro Pascal to play Reed Richards is going to ruin the movie because he's not white. But if you decided we need the Silver Surfer to be a woman because we need more female representation, I think you're thinking about everything wrong, and you haven't learned the lessons of the MCU Phases 4 and into the beginning of Phases 5, that people really don't care about that. They don't really concern themselves the way that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios and Disney and DEI and ESG and all that stuff concerns all that stuff. It doesn't really translate to the normal people that are actually going to have to spend their money on this stuff. And in a lot of cases, because we've seen it so much over the past 5 or so years, people will actually hold it against you. Unlike when they cast like Idris Elba as Heimdall, which doesn't really make sense when you think about Norse mythology. But at the time, people weren't thinking about it like that. And even if that was what their intention was, it didn't seem like that, so people didn't hold it against them. I think if you made that choice today, people would be mad. And this is likely a good way to piss people off. John Roca doesn't say much, just that he had heard Fantastic Four involves some kind of love triangle. The info seems to fit, as it has been said, the Fantastic Four movie is all about Sue Storm, and she is the focus of the movie and the lead character. It's also said that Reed Richards has been holding her back and that the Fantastic Four movie portrays Reed in a negative light. So assuming this is all true, if we put it together, Sue is miserable with Reed, who is probably too involved with his work and doesn't pay Sue enough attention. So Sue finds herself in the arms of another man. Now, there's certainly been love triangles in the history of Fantastic Four. Like, the really big one, obviously, is Reed Richards, Sue Storm, and then the Namor. I almost said Namor, like the stupid Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie. Namor. Namor is somebody that Sue Storm every once in a while will put an eye towards when there's a little bit of friction in the relationship between Reed Richards and Sue Storm. I don't think you want to go that route so early. You probably want to do some type of origin story or establish the characters that maybe they don't hate each other at the very beginning, that maybe Reed Richards and Sue Storm really do like each other, and have people invest in that relationship. That way, when you introduce that maybe there is going to be a love triangle, you have to make a decision. Are you on Team Reed? Are you on Team Sue Storm or whatever? It doesn't sound like that's going to happen. This seems like something that should happen in movie 3 or 4 if you ever get there, and they're kind of jumping the shark altogether. And making Sue Storm like the lead, I think, is a bad move. The lead of the movie should be the Thing. That is the heart and soul of the Fantastic Four. Obviously, Reed is the leader. But really, when Fantastic Four has been very successful, and it has been very successful over the years, it's almost always Ben Grimm Thing like centric, or at least Ben Grimm Thing, Reed Richards centric. Like their relationship as friends who don't always see eye to eye, when the Thing kind of blames Reed Richards for the bad things that happened to him, specifically becoming made of stone and all that stuff. Like that's the relationship they should really be focusing on for a first Fantastic Four movie. Obviously, the relationship between Sue Storm and Reed Richards is very important and is integral to the dynamics of the team themselves. But the really important relationship is Reed Richards and the Thing. That's where you get all the really, really, really good confrontation and where all the really awesome family dynamics really spring out of. It almost always is central to that. It's almost always central to those two characters and the way that they see things. So I think they are thinking about this all wrong. The love triangle idea is stupid. It's been played out. And I don't think a lot of people that are Fantastic Four fans ever really liked the idea of Sue Storm potentially leaving Reed for Namor anyway, or Namor in the MCU. So I think that's a really bad idea. Painting Reed Richards in a bad light, making him the personification of toxic masculinity is a terrible idea. And they should be thinking about this all differently. But what do I know? I'm only a fan of Fantastic Four, and I've only read the comic books and stuff and know what actually worked. But hey, who knows? Now, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Like I mentioned, there perhaps, just perhaps, something amazing came out this week, also from John Rocha, who says Kevin Feige is bringing back Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely as advisors to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Rocha said, I have been told by a couple of sources of mine that possibly Marcus and McFeely are already unofficial advisors over the last few months at Marvel. Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely are the writers behind Marvel's top-grossing films and work with the Russo brothers on Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, Captain America Civil War, and Captain America The Winter Soldier. Now, a lot of MCU fans probably don't know this, but the reason they like phases 1 through 3, the Infinity Saga, where they decided to call that thing, like the big block of movies that ended with Endgame and obviously began with Iron Man, is because pretty early on they brought somebody aboard and they mapped out phases 1 through 3. And that person was Joss Whedon. Now, he didn't see it through to the end. Obviously, he wrote and directed Avengers and then wrote and directed Avengers Age of Ultron, which wasn't nearly as successful as the first film. And then I guess some bad press, or maybe there was a falling out and he moved on. And the Russo brothers kind of took over for him as like the main guys as far as the creative directors. But he had already mapped out everything all the way up until Endgame. Now, I think Infinity War maybe was supposed to be one movie. They decided to break into 2. But he said, this is the way that we're going to get here. And these are the ties that we're going to have. And you're going to culminate with this one thing. And they stuck to the plan and they really nailed the landing. And that's why everybody liked it. I think bringing back Marcus and McFeely, who were associated with the 2 Avengers Infinity War Endgame movies, obviously wrote the 2 awesome Captain America movies that we got, and having them map things out and say, hey, this is where we're going. These are the big villains. These are the big plot elements. These are the ties that we need to get to this end point. And that is going to be the story and the conclusion to this multiverse saga, or whatever they're calling it. That has just started out horribly. And it sounds like they're already throwing out Kang. That's not going to happen. Hey, Marcus and McFeely, if you're listening to your boy Wes right here, do the High Evolutionary. That guy was absolutely amazeballs in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Far more terrifying, far more compelling than what Kang was, whether it be in Loki or Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania or any of that stuff. He was absolutely amazing. That was a great portrayal and a really good idea as far as the High Evolutionary that could present an enormous threat, not just to the Avengers, but really the entire galaxy, which is a good place to start. So I think they should probably go that route, but bringing these guys in that have written stories that made sense and made things tie together and allowing them to help map things out, maybe not write everything, but just to work with Feige to make things move in a certain direction and hit all these points and make sure that the stories really include things that are going to matter when you get to the end line, I think is a great idea. If that is happening, a tip of the cap to Kevin Feige, you're making a really good choice, because a lot of people don't like Joss Whedon. He does have a negative Q rating, but he was absolutely vital extremely vital to the overall success of the MCU phases 1 through 3, the Infinity Saga, because he mapped it out and they knew exactly where they were supposed to go, why they were going there, and what was going to be the ultimate conclusion of the story. And if they can get back to that with Marcus and McFeely, that would be a great thing. But we are seeing things kind of fall apart for Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios in real time. So much negative press over the last 3 weeks. We just had the biggest bomb in MCU history with the Marvels, and we've been watching and talking about it for so long, but this is absolutely happening in real time. Are they going to be able to correct course? Are they going to be able to fix it? I do not know, but it is absolutely amazing to see. There's also a link in the video description.